Today I'm going to tell you how to do a wheelie on a mountain bike. Now a couple things you're going to need before we start. You're going to need some shoes, some nice platform shoes. As you can see, these are Vans. Nice skateboard Vans. They have a good hard bottom, good flat bottom is what you really want. Next you're going to need a bike, of course. Now my bike's a little overkill for this, but this will work perfectly fine. Now I'm going to name a couple things on the bike that we want to point out before we start with the wheelie tutorial. First thing is, you're going to want to know where your pedals are, which I'm sure most people know. But back here is really important. So you have what you call your drivetrain. You have your derailleur, your front sprocket, and then your rear gear set. Now with the gears, for simple terms, the smaller gear is harder to pedal. The taller gear is easier to pedal. So with that, you really want to be, for beginner wheelies, you want to be in one of your middle gears so you have power, but you also have some ease of pedaling so you can get the wheelie up in practice. Next thing you're going to want to know. When you're looking at the bike, you got the front of your bike right here. So on the front, you have two brakes. Now, your right side is always going to be your rear brake. Your left side is going to be your front brake. And with most wheelies, when you're starting off, you're going to use your brakes pretty regularly until you can get that feel of motion. Now, next thing, you're going to want to see your seat. Now, my seat, it's called a dropper, so it goes up and down automatically, but most people won't have this. So, depending on your leg height, I'm going to get on the bike real quick, your leg height. When you're riding the bike, you want your feet almost flat-footed on the ground. But for me, so wherever you're comfortable. But for a wheelie, I usually bring my seat up probably that high. So I'm sitting on the bike. When I'm sitting on the bike, I have good posture. My arms aren't down and crunched. But I'm just sitting very comfortable, very relaxed position, upright position. I'm not too leaned over, and I'm not too up. So when you're like that, just say you're riding your bike. You're in your practice area. You're in your yard. And when you're in your yard, you want to practice. The first step is a very simple step. You're going to want to sit there while you're riding your bike, riding it through the yard. You're going to want to pick the bike up and just push it down. Pick it up, push it down. Very simple step. It's not very hard, but you're going to want to do that a lot. You're going to want to practice that motion up, down, up, down. Now, when you're doing that, say you did it for, let's say, 30 minutes. You just rode around goofing off, doing that little position. Now you're going to want to get your seat height right. Now with your feet, you're going to want to, you have a dominant foot. Now most people's dominant foot is whatever hand they write with or they do most things with. Mine is my left. So this is going to be what we call your power foot. So when you're doing a wheelie, this is a very big key in it. So say you've been practicing your up and down, up and down. Now, you're going to want to try, got your helmet on, you're riding, you're going. Now you're going to want to take this foot, when you push down, like we were practicing earlier, you're going to push down. When you pick up, you're going to push with this foot, causing the bike to rear back. Now, when the bike rears back, the best thing to do is just let it go back. So you'll be on your back. The bike will be up here, and you'll catch yourself. You'll loop out is what they call it. So when you loop out, that's good because you know your trust point, you know your balance point then. Now, say you do that a couple times. You're riding it, you're doing that. Next thing you're going to want to introduce is what we call chasing it out. So when it's up in the air, I'm going to do a little demonstration here. When it's up in the air about, let's say, what is that, about 9 o'clock. We'll say it's up in there about 9 o'clock. Now what you're going to do is the bike's going to want to fall naturally with gravity. Now what we call chasing it out is pedaling really fast, and you're just keeping the wheelie up. You're keeping it going, and it's called chasing it out. Now it's not the right way to do it, but for beginners that's perfect. That's what we want to do. Now let's say, been in the yard, you're doing that a lot. You practice that. We're going to move on to a very critical part. It's using your back brake. Now, what the back brake does is when you're up in the air, you know how we talked about looping, where you fall backwards. The back brake keeps you from doing that. So therefore, when you're in the back air, see it's bringing me back down when I'm hitting the brake. That's what you control the wheelie with. So therefore, let's say you've got great. You can chase it out hard. You introduce the brake. The first thing you do is you slam it. It's just going to go boom. That's all it's going to do. You have to learn that balance point like we talked about earlier. You're going to have to lose that balance point where you're up in the air. Here, let me get that better real quick. When you're up in the air, this is going to be your balance point. You're going to want to use the back brake to, while you're pedaling like you're chasing it out, to use the back brake to keep it up. Now it sounds a lot simpler than it is, but with I can't really do it in here, but with the open area, you can get this down pat easy. Be very simple to do. Only thing I guide people with, really, you really need a helmet because when you loop out, you can slam your head on the ground. I've done it plenty of times. It's not fun. Other things I can suggest, if you look at my pedals down here, they're not normal pedals. Let me get a little closer. They're not normal pedals. They have spikes on them. Now you don't need these, but with those shoes I have, it really helps grab the bottom of the shoe better, and you can deliver a lot more power. Another thing is, if you have a higher end bike, just really not a Walmart bike, it's a full suspension, which means you have suspension in the front and rear. There's these things called lockouts that make the bike stiff, so the bike does not squish when the lockout is engaged. But that's okay. But anyway, that's allowed. But other than that, that's really all you need to know. You really need to practice. This is not something you'll get the first time or the second time. It's going to take weeks. But if you ride around your yard, it's something to do. It's something that I enjoy doing, and I wanted to tell you guys. So I appreciate y'all listening, and thank you very much.